The first menu you'll see is the boot menu. Select Clonezilla Live and hit enter. At this point, Clonezilla will boot up fully. It'll take a few seconds. We're going to fast forward through this portion. The next two menus you'll see are for language and keyboard. I'm going to go with English and keep for my keyboard settings. Now we're going to hit Start Clonezilla to start the main process. Here's where you choose what you want to do. The first option, device to image, is the one we're going to be using. However, there are some other advanced options like device to device, remote sources and destinations, and even a server and client mode. We're going to go with the first one, device to image, and hit enter. Here you can choose where you want to save your image. The first option, local dev, that's going to be a local device like an external hard drive that you have plugged into the computer right now. There's some other options like using an SSH server option or saving to a network share, even sending up to AWS, or some manual options. Let's go with the local option because we're going to be using an external hard drive. This is probably the most important screen in the whole process. This screen shows you every drive that this computer can see. You'll notice that hard drives and USB sticks typically will start with SD and a letter, whereas NVMe drives will start with NVMe and then some numbers and letters. This computer here, in this example, we can see 3 drives total. NVMe 0 and 1 is the main operating system drive. SDA is the external hard drive we have plugged in, and SDB is the USB stick that we're running Clonezilla on. Keep in mind that the names and number of drives may be completely different on your system. That's why it's important to take a minute to look at this screen pretty closely. You need to figure out which name corresponds to your external hard drive where we're going to be saving the image. Clonezilla realizes this might be a little bit complicated, so they refresh this screen every 3 seconds. You can go ahead and unplug your external drive, wait a few seconds, and watch to see which name disappears. At that point, plug your external hard drive back in, and it should then show back up again. In this example, SDA is the external hard drive because that's the one that disappeared and showed back up again. Now that we know our external hard drive is SDA, we can hit Control-C to exit this menu. Here's where you're going to choose your destination drive where the image is going to be saved. You'll notice each drive has multiple entries. That is because each drive can have multiple partitions. We already know in my example, SDA is my external hard drive, so I'm going to be choosing either SDA1 or SDA2. In order to figure out which partition to use, make sure you choose the largest partition. Here we can see SDA is only 16 meg, but SDA2 is 111 gigabytes. SDA2 will be my destination selection. Here you have the option to run a file system check on your source drive. I'm going to choose skip checking and hit enter. Here you can choose where on your external hard drive the image is saved. By default, it is saved right at the root of the drive. Therefore, you can go down to done and hit enter. Here is your last chance to confirm your destination location. Mine is going to be SDA2. I can hit enter to continue. For this section, choose beginner mode as it's the easiest, and it will walk you through the next options. Since we want to save an image of our entire disk, we're going to choose the first option for save disk. You can give your image a special name if you want, otherwise just accept the default name and hit enter. Here you will be selecting your source drive. In my example, NVMe 0 and 1 is the source drive I want to back up. That's my OS drive. And SDB is the USB stick that Clonezilla is running on. You can use the spacebar to make your selection and then go down to OK and hit enter. Here you can choose what kind of compression to use. I would recommend sticking with the default option and hitting enter. Here you can choose to do a file system check on your drive. I'm going to choose skip and hit enter. Next, you can select if Clonezilla should check your saved image. I would highly recommend you actually do this. However, for the purposes of this demo, I will be choosing skip. Clonezilla has some built-in options for encryption. If you don't need encryption, you can choose not to encrypt and hit enter. Finally, you can select what the system should do when it finishes. I'm going to select power off as the option. Finally, hit enter to continue the process and enter Y when prompted to continue. Clonezilla will now begin saving your disk to an image partition by partition. The good news is that your final image size will only be as large as how much you are using from your drive. If you have a 500 gig hard drive, but we're only using 50 gigs, your image size will only be about 50 gigs. We will fast forward through most of this. Just know that the larger your drive is, the longer this process will take. Just walk away and let it finish. When it's complete, it will say it successfully cloned the device. Clonezilla will then wrap up some final tasks and then shut down. That's it. You have successfully saved your disk to an image. If you now look on your external hard drive later, you will see a folder that has your disk image saved. In the future, you can use this image to clone the drive to another drive if yours fails, or to restore your drive if something were to happen to it.